Welcome. The What It Takes Radio Company presents a program designed to help you perform at your best and to be one of the 3%. Well, what do you think that means? Well, we all need reminding and we all need remembering, and that's vital to life. And so I would like to tell you a little bit of the beginning story for me. And it's about being one of the 3%. Here's the story. Greetings, my friends. And you are my friends because you're taking time to listen to my story. I think it's always good for us to remember that one of the key questions that we ask anybody is, "Hi, glad to meet you. Hey, tell me, what's your story?" We should do that rather than say, "Oh," or "What do you do?" or "Where do you come from?" That kind of limits things. What's your story? Now they're liable to say, "Well, I don't have a story." And we would say, "Oh, everybody has a story. Tell me one of yours." Or "Where did you grow up? And what was that like?" We want to exchange stories. And part of the problem with the COVID situation is that they said, don't socialize. We were made to socialize. Except for a few rare hermits, we were made to be with others and to share our stories and experiences. And that's how we go and grow and how we learn, and hopefully how we learn to love and care for one another. So it's good to have your story, perhaps to have a number of stories, and then begin to share them from time to time as it is appropriate. Now, here I am at this age and stage where I've done a lot of things, and now I'm seeking to once again help people using the art of the mass marketing media, like the YouTube channels and the videos that are all around, and of course the podcasting and radio channels that are now available for everybody to have their own program, even their own radio station. So where did it all begin? Where did it all start? How did that happen? Well, that's why I want to tell you the story of how it began. The 3%. And perhaps to emphasize that to you as a way of getting you encouraged and inspired. And I wrote a book a number of years ago, and it was done for the people in Brazil. It was translated and was quite successful there, but I actually never took it into English. And I went back and looked at it again and said, when I wrote that a number of years ago, I was pretty smart, maybe smarter than I am now in some cases. And so I'm going to revive that book. And it was simply called 3%. 3%, which of course is the Portuguese for 3%. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit of that story, but I simply want to help illustrate this by asking you to think where you might be. 3% changed my life because when I heard this, I said, that's the problem. No one ever taught me this. Here I went through high school. I went through a good college and university, even did some graduate work, went to a major broadcasting school, and no one ever told me about the 3%. Well, here's what I learned, and my mentor was a man who's now departed, but he put together a certain program called Success Motivation Incorporated, and it was located in Texas, in Waco, Texas. And Paul Meyer had been a man who just tried to make it happen and became an insurance salesman, was very successful at that, but then found out that selling insurance was what he did well, but his heart was really in helping other people do well. And so he had a variety of programs, and they consisted in something that's still very good and very unusual. He had a booklet, and the booklet had small chapters that would take you about 10 to 15 minutes to read. And you were to read each chapter, 5 times. And then he had each chapter put in the form of a cassette. Remember those? And you were then to listen to the program 3 times, and then you were to listen to it and read it at the same time for another 2 or 3 times. And you know what happened? As Paul said, you got it. It'll stick with you. It'll even go into your subconscious, and it'll be something that you may have forgotten, but you will never really forget. And think about that statement. So it will come back to you. So here is what I learned from Paul Meyer many, many years ago, and this is what got me to think about what I should do, maybe what I should be, or perhaps how I could help people. What he said was that many, many years ago there was a study done, and there has been documentation of some of these studies. Some of the stories are a bit apocryphal and anecdotal, but the principle is related to some truthful work that was done and some of the anecdotes that came from that. But in the late 1950s and early 60s, when people were trying to discover, okay, what's this success stuff like? Why are there people who are successful? And the old joke used to be is, well, if you're rich, beautiful, and famous, it's easier to be happy and successful. But it turns out that a lot of successful people were none of those things. They weren't rich. They were born really very, very poor. Nobody knew them, and they weren't particularly handsome or good looking, but they made their way. What was the thing that usually described the difference between those who were successful and those who were not in life? And what they discovered was it was quite simple. In effect, the people who were successful knew what they wanted. They had set some very specific, reachable, marketable, passionate things they remembered, oftentimes written down. They had set down a list of the things they wanted in life. What do you want? That's a question I oftentimes ask people. By the way, that's the same question that Jesus asked most people. What do you want? What do you want from me? Okay, you're coming up here. You think I'm a healer. I'm obviously a different and unique person. What do you want me to do for you? And so the question is, what do you want? And figuring out who we are and what we want, and then beginning to write those things down, to get them deep inside of our inside, to evaluate them, to keep trying to reach them, that when we fall down and fail to reach them, we get back up and find another way to try to reach them. And what they discovered is that the people who fit the category of truly goal-directed in their life were only 3%. 3% of the population. And those people were the ones who are most likely to be successful. In fact, there was rumors of a study that was done that about this time that they did a survey of a major famous university, well known, and they found out that even those highly educated men and women, only about 3 to 4% of them actually had any idea of what they wanted to do and had it written down. They fit the 3%. And that many years later, 20, 30 years later, those 3% had 97% of the net worth of the entire class. A story, maybe true, maybe not, but it did very much cement in the idea that it's the 3%. And 3% are those who continually, in spite of all difficulty, keep pressing toward the mark for the high calling, both of their own spirit, but of the goals and the things they want in life. 3%. How many of you are in the 3%? Well, I couldn't raise my hand. I wasn't. No one ever taught me about that. Then it went on to say, then the next group are 10%. Now, these are the people who, it may not be quite as focused and it's a little bit fuzzy, but these are people, and you meet these people, they're quite intentional about their life. They know pretty much what they want. They they have a good grasp of the things they'd like to achieve in their life, and they give it conscious effort and thought and work, and they're highly motivated. Uh, Perhaps not quite the intensity of the 3%, but again, knowing what you want and knowing who you are and what gives you great pleasure, what kind of suits your passion, 10%. Was I a 10%er? No, I wasn't. I'd done good stuff, but I'd kind of just moved into it and then found myself attracted to this and then attracted to that and acquainted with that. So I had been successful in that terms, but the problem was, all of a sudden in my mid-40s, everything came apart. Everything fell apart. All the stuff I had and all the things I'd worked for fell apart. And there I was. As my wife said, we have no house, no car, no job, no money, broke, and a kid in college. And then she screamed at me and said, "That's exactly what I was hoping for when I married you 20 years ago." Well, of course, that wasn't what she had in mind. And the sarcasm was deep and bitter. And she left, and I still remember the sadness of that day. But we had to start over again. But thankfully, that's part of how I learned about being one of the 3%. You see, I was probably in the 60%. Hopes, wants, and wishes. Someday would be nice. The world is full of people who, someday. They kind of, do things by accident. They got a good job and it worked out, so they stuck with it. Most of them didn't intend to be what they are. It wasn't part of their goals. It wasn't part of their intentions. It just, well, okay. And most people deal with the day and do it in a way that, again, they have some aspirations, a nice trip. It would be nice. It'd be good to go to college, or it'd be good to send our children. But they live more or less in a state of perpetual pressing on, but not necessarily making purposeful directions in what they want in life. Now, lots of people, they live okay, they live well, they raise their families, they send them to college, they go to their churches, they live good lives for the most part, and but oftentimes toward the end they have a little bit of a regret about maybe some of the things they wish they might have done. 60%. And then there were the 27%, add them up, 3, 10, 60, 27. And these were people who just, didn't have a clue, never thought about that. Just dealing with the day and nothing more. Thank goodness it's Friday. And as a result of that, as someone said, the pizza companies sell more pizza on Sunday night because people are depressed about the fact that the weekend is over. They didn't get anything done that they wanted to get done, and now they have to go back to the job they hate. And so they deal with it by carving up and maybe a beer and a pizza to make them feel better. 27%, no hopes, no dreams, no wishes. Some of these people, they're the ones who play the lottery. Someday I'm going to win the lottery. That's how I'll retire. I'll win the lottery. And off they go. Well, you can listen to that story, and most of you will right now be doing what I did, and that was to say, I wonder what it would be like to be one of those 3%. How do you do that? And that's what I set out to try and find out. And I think I did find out. Now, have I accomplished all my goals? No, and I've missed some significant ones in terms of financial well-being. But I'm always directed in such a way that I'm trying to create opportunities where I can fulfill some of the passions and the purposes and the desires of my heart. And not only have them for me, but to have them for those I love. And so I'm continually, I was doing that for a woman, and she had heard about me at a conference, and I'd been recommended by a friend of hers, and so I came in and did a little workshop for her, her little little company on being one of the 3%. And she was so deeply moved by the idea because she had just gotten the company off to a good start after having her own career crash. And then she called me in afterwards and said, I don't want to have any more seminars. She said, seminars are fine for my people, but I don't want seminars. I don't like to go to seminars. She said, but I will pay you to come in here every week and help me become one of the 3%. Help me set those goals. Help me keep going. Hold me accountable, responsible. Be a real nag. Help me be a 3% person and have a 3% company and have all of my employees be 3% people. That's what I want. And I want you to help me do it. We're 3%ers. And that's how it all began. And that's how I became a business performance coach. And it led to all kinds of things that I had to get good at in order to help people be one of the 3%. And hopefully that's where I am now and why I could help you and your organization do as I've done for many years, be one of the 3%. But then on top of that, my 30 years of experience and my 50 years of experience in broadcasting means that I now have also the ability to help you use many of the new methods and media to actually achieve some of those goals, to actually be a person not only who has the goals, but has the means and the platform and the media and the confidence and the tools in place to make their mark, to win friends and influence people, or as I say, to make good friends, and then to serve your audience in the marketplace. We're going to help you become one of the 3%. That's what we want to help you do. Then we want to help you reach your audience. And then we want to help you be the kind of person that brings a real aliveness to your message. They're not just buying your company and your product, they're buying you and your energy and your personality. They buy your products because in some ways they want to be like you. And you go on to leave a legacy not only in people's lives, but you write, you publish, you put together programs, and those programs and those people and those publications last forever. So we say, reach your audience, bring your message to life, and have just a little touch of immortality. Something that will succeed you, be here long after you're not here, and even from your grave, from the immortal space you're in, you will be able to reach and teach and inspire others. That's the goal and that's the mission, and that's what it means to be a 3%er. If you'd like to know a little bit more about that, why don't you reach out to me? StanHusted@gmail.com, StanHusted@gmail.com, and say, Tres percento, Stan. I want me and my company, I want us all to be one of the 3. And we can do that. That's what we do, and we do it well. Take care. All the best and blessings on you in your new journey in these difficult and challenging times. AI is going to put a lot of people in bad situations and a lot of people out of work. We're going to live in a new way of life and doing business, and we better be prepared for those changes by being one of the very intentional, one of the very thoughtful, one of the very brave and bold and courageous people who are one of the 3. All the best and blessings to you on that journey. Take care, be well, and bye for now. Well, we thank you for your time, and thank you for your patience, and thank you for listening to our story. And we hope that might be helpful to you, and hopefully you'll check out and send us, and tell the world your story. Reach out to me at StanHusted@gmail.com, and you can check out our 7 YouTube channels. Do a YouTube search for Stan Husted 3% and see what comes up. And if you want to reach out and leave us a message, please do so. 520-664 7002 USA. That'll work. And as you leave a message, please remember, this fine program is brought to you by the What It Takes Radio Company.